What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Former unified junior welterweight champion Jose Ramirez will be looking to come back from an L he took in his last fight when he fought for undisputed against current undisputed junior welterweight champion Josh Taylor. He'll be taking on former lightweight champion Jose Pedraza in a classic Mexican versus Puerto Rico rivalry. This is in promoters Bob Arum, who's promoting this fight. This is in his wheelhouse, as he's promoted several iconic Mexico versus Puerto Rico fights over his 40 years as a boxing promoter. Now this fight's gonna boil down to, can Pedraza get Jose Ramirez respect? Does he have enough power? Does he have enough pop? Is he a sharp enough puncher to make Jose Ramirez a little less hesitant to come forward and press the action? That was gonna boil down to, because you got Pedraza, who used to campaign at 135 pounds, coming up to 140 pounds and fighting a naturally bigger guy who's been at that weight class longer, who has been a world champion at that weight class, and he lost to the top dog at that weight class in Josh Taylor. As we know, Jose Ramirez went into the Josh Taylor fight as a fighter who had a granite chin. But in that fight with Josh Taylor, he got dropped twice. So does he really do have a granite chin, or was that just about him fighting fighters at a certain level, and then when he went in there and fought a guy at the elite level, he got dropped and he got exposed? We're gonna find that out a little bit tonight in Fresno, California, hometown of Jose Ramirez. Now that's a key thing to say. He's fighting in his hometown. So Jose Pedraza need to know going into this fight that if the fight's close, he's not going to get the decision. So he needs to go into this fight and dominate round after round after round. Make it clear as day that he's the superior fighter, where they can't do nothing but give him the victory. Or it would be on the robbery scales of a Lennox Lewis versus Evander Holyfield, the first fight, when that was one of the biggest robberies in the history of boxing. You know, people talk about this fight that took place a couple of weeks ago. Josh Taylor, it might even been last week. I can't remember when this fight was. All these fights are kind of running together, but the Josh Taylor versus Jack Cattrall fight. That fight was on ESPN Plus, just like this fight tonight's going to be on ESPN Plus. And after the fight, everybody was screaming robbery, especially the UK boxing fans. That fight was not a robbery. Jack Cattrall, in my opinion, won the fight, but it was a very close fight. A lot of close rounds, in particularly in the second half of that fight. And when the rounds are close, sometimes you have a judge or judges, they go with the fighter that's pressing the action. The guy that's coming forward, not the guy that's constantly fighting off the back foot like Jack Cattrall was doing more and more as the fight went on. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires, but Jose Ramirez's signature punch is the left hook. Great body puncher. He's got a good right hook too. He's going to try to close the distance, get in close, and work the body. Jose Pedraza is a classic counter puncher. He's looking to play off his opponent. What I mean by play off his opponent, if his opponent's aggressive fighter that comes forward, he's going to look to catch him coming in, and he's going to be looking to land the right hand. Coming in, he's going to be looking to land the left hook from range and from in close quarters. That's what Jose Pedraza is going to be looking to do. Jose Pedraza is not a guy that's going to be looking to necessarily use the whole ring as far as on his bicycle, moving around, trying to do that, because if he does that, he's not going to get no decision. He knows he's going to have to stand his ground at a certain point in this fight, and he's going to have to land some shots to gain Jose Ramirez's respect. And that's what this fight's going to boil down to, the punching power or lack thereof of Jose Pedraza. Pedraza is what you call a tricky, crafty fighter. You remember the fighter back in a couple of years ago, not even a couple of years ago, maybe about 5 to 10 years ago. You remember Mauricio Herrera? Very tricky, very crafty fighter. You know, a lot of people say, oh, he's pillow-fisted. He don't have a lot of power, but it seemed like when he got in there with those power punches, he was able to hit them with sharp enough punches to gain their respect, and they didn't come in there, you know, with reckless abandon. They didn't try to walk him down in a lot of cases. They came in with a little hesitancy. You kind of seen that in a Danny Garcia fight, in a fight that a lot of people thought Garcia lost that fight. That fight took place in Puerto Rico. Herrera was able to keep the fight for the most part at a distance, and he was able to keep Danny Garcia at bay with his combination punches and his counter punching ability. And he had enough pop on his punches where Danny Garcia, who was a naturally bigger guy, couldn't just walk him down. And that's some of the same things that Jose Pedraza is going to be looking to do in the Jose Ramirez fight tonight. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But this is a classic Mexico versus Puerto Rico rivalry. Promoter Bob Arum, aka the Bob Father, this is in his wheelhouse. He's promoted, I don't know how many fights, but there's a lot of them. He's promoted a whole lot of fights through his 40 years of promoting. Him and Don King promoted one of the biggest fights in the early 2000s when Oscar De La Hoya took on Felix Trinidad. This fight is not on the scale of that fight, but again, this is a classic Mexico versus Puerto Rico rivalry, and we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But I like Jose Ramirez to slowly but surely break down Jose Pedraza. I think the pressure will get to Jose Pedraza. I don't think Pedraza have enough power, enough pop on his punches to make Jose Ramirez hesitant. I think the 2 knockdowns that he suffered in the Josh Taylor, I'm not going to say those were fluke knockdowns, because Josh Taylor is that good and he's got that type of power. He was a naturally bigger guy in the fight with Jose Ramirez. And I think Jose Ramirez kind of underestimated the size of Josh Taylor. And I think he should have respected that a little bit more. He kind of came in there reckless at times. He got caught and he got dropped. I don't think he's going to make that same mistake. Plus, he's not fighting a guy that is as big as Josh Taylor. So some of the mistakes he made in a Josh Taylor fight, I don't think they'll hurt him as much as it is in a fight with a smaller guy in Jose Pedraza. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But Pedraza, man, he's upset the apple cart before. He's been in this position before. A lot of people was counting him out in the Ray Beltran fight. Everybody was pretty much assuming that Ray Beltran was going to fight Vasily Lomachenko next. And that did not transpire, as Beltran got beat, and got beat decisively by Jose Pedraza, and he ended up getting a shot against Vasily Lomachenko. So he'll be looking to do the same thing with Jose Ramirez, who I'm sure is looking to get the win tonight and then secure a title shot at 140 pounds. And Jose Pedraza will be looking to alter those plans. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But it's going to be an interesting matchup, man. Pedraza, he's been in there with Gervonta Tank Davis. He's been in there with Ray Beltran. He's been in there with some good names at 135 pounds, and he's in there with a top name now at 140 pounds. Jose Ramirez has been in there with some good names too. Maurice Hooker, that's probably his best win. You know, of course, he's in his last fight, he lost to Josh Taylor. He's been in there with some good fighters. Zapata, that was a very, very close fight. Very, very close fight. I believe Pedraza, if I'm with him as his trainer or part of his team, I'll be looking at that Zapata fight. And I'll be trying to implement some of the same things Zapata did. A lot of people thought Zapata won that fight. And I believe that fight was in Fresno, California, IA2. And, of course, Zapata did not get the decision in a very competitive, close fight. So Pedraza need to know this. I don't want to hear no crying after this fight if it's close and competitive, saying he got robbed. You knew that going in. You got to be aggressive. You know, in the championship rounds, you got to put your foot on the gas pedal, and you got to stand your ground and start landing shots. Landing shots that's going to catch the judge's eyes. Landing shots that's going to quiet the raucous Fresno crowd. And put your stamp on the fight in rounds 10, 11, and 12. If you're able to do that, then I'll be more willing to hear your argument, hear your crying if you do get robbed or you do lose a close fight that I feel that you won. But if you don't do that and you kind of coast at the end of the fight and you let him kind of do what Josh Taylor did to Jack Cottrell, I don't want to hear no crying. That's basically what I'm saying. I don't want to hear no crying. You know what you got yourself into. Jack Cottrell knew what he was getting himself into fighting Josh Taylor in his hometown. Jose Pedraza, you know what you're getting yourself into fighting Jose Ramirez in his hometown. But I like Jose Ramirez to win this fight. And I like him to get a 10th round TKO. I think he says he's going to no more Mr. Nice Guy, as he was rivaling Joe Parker, a.k.a. Joseph Parker, as the nicest guy in boxing going into the Josh Taylor fight. I think he's going to come in with a mean streak. He's going to come in with that dog mentality, and I think he's going to walk down and ultimately stop Jose Pedraza. I think we're going to see the same Jose Ramirez that fought Maurice Hooker. And Maurice Hooker, in my opinion, is a slightly better fighter than Jose Pedraza. And you see what he did to Maurice Hooker. I think Jose Pedraza will last a little longer. He's a little bit more craftiness. He won't get as reckless. He won't go toe-to-toe and fight Jose Ramirez type of fight as early in the fight as Maurice Hooker did. So I think he'll last a little bit longer, but I think the outcome will be the same. He gets stopped, and it'll be in the 10th round. So we will see what happens. We will see what transpires. Let me know your thoughts on who you like in this particular matchup. Do you like Jose Ramirez or do you like Jose Pedraza? Let me know your thoughts. Follow me on Twitter, JBsports 3303. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports. The man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.